Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a close look at something you probably use almost every day without really thinking about it. Menthol.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Exactly. And we've got this recent market report that forecasts its whole global journey. Our mission really is to pull out the most interesting bits, the surprising facts, and, what it all means for you.
Right. And this isn't just like a dry list of numbers. It's about understanding the flow, the dynamics
Mm.
of a pretty significant global market.
Okay.
The report gives us a snapshot, you could say, of where the menthol market stands in 2025, and crucially, where the trend suggests it's headed by 2033.
Uh-huh.
And we're looking at it from all sorts of angles. Is it, solid crystal, a powder, a liquid? How's it being used? Medicine, flavoring, toothpaste, other stuff.
Right.
And which parts of the world are really buzzing with activity?
Yeah.
It's all based on data going back to 2021, using 2024 as the main reference point for these projections.
Okay, so let's dive in. What's the big picture, the headline finding from all this data?
Well, the main theme, I'd say, is definitely consistent growth. The report suggests the global menthol market is hitting around USD 580 million in 2025.
5.28 billion.
Exactly. And maybe more importantly, it projects a climb up to USD 841.90 million by 2033.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so that's steady increase. It works out to an average annual growth rate, the CGR, of about 5.40% over that time frame. So not exactly explosive, but definitely a solid upward path.
A steady climb, yeah, that paints a clear picture. So what's pushing it? What's the engine behind this expansion?
The report really highlights one major factor: the rising demand for menthol in pharmaceuticals.
Ah, okay.
Think about it, right? Why do you reach for something with menthol? That cooling sensation, that sort of pain relief it offers.
Yeah, cough drops, muscle rub.
Exactly. It makes it super valuable in a whole range of medical uses, from, the cough and cold stuff you grab over the counter to more specific pain relief things.
Mm.
We're seeing it used more in topical pain relief creams, for instance, maybe as people look for alternatives to opioids. And it's in more cold and flu remedies, too, fitting with that growing desire for symptom relief with more natural ingredients.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. So geographically, where's the action happening? Which regions are leading the pack right now?
Right now, North America, they hold the biggest slice of the pie, actually over 40% of the global revenue.
40%.
Yeah. Their market size in 2025 is pegged at around USD 1,320 million, and they're projected to grow at about 3.6% annually between now and 2033. So yeah, they're the current leader.
And within North America, I'm guessing the U.S. is the dominant force.
Oh, absolutely. The U.S. alone is looking at a market size of about USD 141.48 million in 2025.
Okay.
And its growth is expected to be pretty much in line with the region, around 3.4% per year. And that's largely down to what we just talked about, the increasing use in pharmaceuticals, both prescription and over-the-counter stuff.
Makes sense. What about Canada and Mexico? How do they fit in?
Canada's market is estimated around USD 158.40 million for 2025. Interestingly, it's projected to grow a bit faster, at 4.4% a year.
Oh, interesting. Why is that?
Seems to be driven more by personal care and cosmetics up there. Menthol finding its way into more of those products.
Right.
And Mexico, their market size is about USD 120.12 million in 2025, also showing decent growth, projected at 4.1% annually.
Okay, so some nuances within North America. It's leading now. But what about Europe? Usually another big player in global markets.
Yep, Europe's number 2, holds the second largest share of the menthol market, actually generating over 30% of global revenue.
Still very significant.
Definitely. Their market size is projected at USD 1,108.80 million in 2025, with an expected annual growth rate of about 3.7% through 2033. So still big numbers, solid growth.
Any particular countries in Europe showing standout trends?
Well, the UK does stand out a bit. Projected annual growth of 4.5%, which is higher than the regional average. Market size around USD 186.28 million in 2025.
And the reason?
Seems to be partly down to a growing preference among consumers there for natural and organic menthol, especially in personal care items.
Ah, the natural trend again.
Exactly. And Germany, which actually has a larger market, about USD 219.54 million in 2025, is also showing solid growth at 3.9% per year. That seems fueled more by their expanding food and beverage industry, where menthol is used as a flavoring.
Okay.
Then you've got France, Italy, Russia, Spain, all with significant market sizes, though their growth rates are projected a little more modestly, kind of the 2.7% to 3.1% range per year.
Right. So North America and Europe are the current heavyweights, but what about Asia? With its population, growing economies, I'd expect some serious movement there.
You are spot on. The Asia-Pacific region, APAC, accounts for about 23% of global menthol revenue right now.
Mm.
Market size around USD 2,323.2 million in 2025.
Okay, so third place currently, but
But here's the kicker: growth. APAC is projected to have the highest average annual growth rate globally, a really strong 7.0% from 2025 to 2033.
7%. Wow, that's quite a jump compared to the others.
It really is. Makes it the region to watch very, very closely.
So what's driving that boom in Asia Pacific?
Well, China's a massive factor. Their market size is already huge, USD 975.74 million in 2025, and projected to grow at 6.5% annually.
And the key driver there.
A lot of it seems to be the increasing use of menthol in oral care. Toothpaste, mouthwash, huge, and growing consumer markets in China.
Makes sense.
India is also showing really impressive growth, projected 8.9% annual increase. Market size around USD 232.32 million in 2025.
Nearly 9%, wow.
Yeah. And then Japan, South Korea, Australia, Southeast Asia, they're all chipping in with healthy growth rates too. It's interesting. South Korea's 6.1% growth is specifically linked to continued activity in their tobacco industry.
Ah, tobacco influence there.
Yeah. So really across the board in APAC, strong momentum.
That really does highlight a potential shift, doesn't it, in where the growth is really concentrated. What about the other regions? Middle East, Africa, South America, smaller players, presumably.
Yeah, they represent smaller shares currently, but they're definitely not standing still. The Middle East is about 2% of global revenue, projected to hit USD 211.2 million in 2025, with a pretty decent annual growth of 5.9%.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia and the UAE are leading the charge there.
Okay.
Africa's at 1% of the market, looking at USD 116.16 million in 2025 and a 5.1% annual growth. South Africa and Nigeria are showing good potential.
Right.
And South America holds a bit more, over 5% of global revenue, projected around USD 200.64 million in 2025, growing at 5.7% annually. Brazil and Argentina are the key countries there.
Any specific drivers noted for those?
Yeah, Brazil's growth seems linked to cosmetics and personal care. And interestingly, in Argentina, the report links some of the growth to the increasing popularity of mentholated tobacco products.
So tobacco's still a factor in some areas.
Absolutely. So yeah, while smaller overall, these regions still offer, definite growth opportunities.
Okay, that covers the geography really well. Now, the report also mentioned breaking the market down by the form menthol takes. What did that show?
Right, so it mainly looked at three forms: crystalline solid, powder, and liquid.
Okay.
Currently, the crystalline solid form is dominant. You can picture it, right? That pure, concentrated form. It's often preferred because it's highly pure, it's stable, and it's relatively easy to handle and mix into things.
But I think you mentioned one form was growing particularly fast.
Yes, exactly. The liquid form is the fastest growing segment.
Why is that?
Well, it's largely because it offers better solubility. It just mixes more easily into different types of products.
Ah, easier to work with.
Yeah, and it offers more versatility.
Yeah.
Especially in some newer applications like vaping products, but also in things like perfumes and certain oral care liquids where you need that even dispersion. Liquid just blends in more easily.
That makes sense, yeah, especially with newer product types coming out. Okay, let's switch to how menthol is actually used. What are the main application areas driving all this demand?
Well, the biggest slice of the market right now is in flavoring and additives. Think about it: food, drinks, chewing gum, toothpaste, mouthwash, and of course tobacco products. It's used widely there to enhance flavor and, consumer appeal.
Still the largest use, okay.
Yes, but the medical product segment is expanding rapidly. This goes back to what we discussed earlier, that rising demand for menthol-based pharma products for like respiratory relief, pain management, leveraging its cooling and analgesic properties.
So a real split between everyday products and health applications. What are the main forces, the drivers, pushing the whole market forward then?
The report points to a few key things. First, those expanding uses in food and beverage as a flavor enhancer. Seems simple, but it adds up. Second, its continued widespread use in the tobacco industry for flavoring cigarettes, despite growing regulations in some places. That's still a big driver.
Right, that tension is interesting.
It is. And thirdly, its growing popularity in personal care and cosmetics. People like that cooling, refreshing sensation, so it keeps getting added to new products.
Okay, those are the drivers. What about the brakes, the headwinds? What are the main challenges or restraints the market is up against?
Yeah, there are a couple of significant ones. First, those increasingly strict regulations on using menthol in tobacco products.
Mm,
That's definitely having an impact in certain markets, slowing growth in that specific area.
makes sense.
And second, the market can be sensitive to um, fluctuations in raw material availability and cost.
Hmm.
Where menthol comes from, often natural sources. If harvests are bad or supply chains get disrupted, that can affect production costs.
Right, supply chain vulnerability. And looking forward, what are the key trends shaping where the menthol market is headed?
Well, we're definitely seeing that increased regulatory focus specifically on menthol cigarettes. That's expected to continue and really influence things.
Okay.
And alongside that, there's a clear trend, a growing demand from consumers across food, cosmetics, even pharma for natural and plant-derived menthol. It's part of that bigger shift towards, natural, health-conscious choices.
The natural trend cutting across multiple segments then.
Exactly.
And finally, the report mentioned competitiveness. What's the landscape like? Is it dominated by a few big players?
It's described as highly competitive. You've got established players, the big names, who are focusing on innovation, sustainability, like sourcing practices, and broadening their product lines.
Okay.
But what's also interesting is there's growing competition from emerging players, especially manufacturers coming out of the Asia-Pacific region. So that's adding another layer of dynamism to the market.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. To recap our deep dive into this menthol report, we're looking at a global market that's, well, set for steady growth. Pharmaceuticals are a big reason why.
The key driver, yeah.
And Asia-Pacific looks like the region really poised for the fastest expansion. While flavoring is still the biggest use case, medical applications are really picking up steam.
Definitely growing fast.
And the liquid form of menthol is the one gaining momentum fastest, form-wise. Meanwhile, you've got this tension between regulations, especially around tobacco, and this growing demand for natural sources. Those seem like the crucial trends to watch, right?
Absolutely. It really paints a picture of a market with incredibly diverse uses and some significant regional shifts happening. It's quite dynamic.
It really is. It shows how versatile menthol is, adapting to different consumer tastes and industry needs all over the world.
Precisely.
So here's maybe a final thought for you, our listeners, to chew on. Given all these different uses, medicine, candy, cosmetics, tobacco, and these varying growth speeds across the globe, what unexpected industries or maybe even surprising geographical areas might suddenly see a surge in menthol demand in the next few years? And, how could shifts like that ripple through the existing supply chains or change how companies develop new menthol products? Definitely gives you something to think about.
Yeah. Good question.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.